Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Janet and this is Jasmine Doodles, where I get to tell you all about my life, show you a little bit where teaching has taken me and how teaching can take you to different places if you stick around and learn a few things from my book. I'm not an immigration officer, but I'm someone who is very adventurous, and because of that, I've done a lot of things in teaching. I've traveled, I've done so many things in teaching, and I'm very happy to share my experience with you so that we can all grow together in this profession. Right now, I'm sitting in a park in Cartagena. Behind me is the port where people come in summer to enjoy the vibrant city of Cartagena. Cartagena is in the south of Spain. It's in a place called Región de Murcia, and I haven't always been in Cartagena. When I first came to Spain, I was in a place called Vigo, and Vigo is on the opposite end of the country in a place called Pontevedra in Galicia. Cartagena and Vigo are both port cities, but they're, they're like chalk and cheese. Cartagena is hot and dry, even though it's a port city. Vigo is wet and green. Galicians enjoy a different type of diet than Cartagenans. Cartagenians? I need to learn how to say that. What I'm trying to say is, I've enjoyed being in this country. It's the same way I've enjoyed being in all the different countries where I've lived. And today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 tips on how to make the most of whatever country you find yourself. Number 1, you need to learn the language. Now, before you learn the language, let's back up. Maybe number 1 should be that you should actually make friends, meet people, and if you have children like I do, you will find that you can't always hang out with people who want to go out to have drinks, because you've got to wake up in the morning, especially if you're a teacher. You've got to wake up in the morning. Not only do you have children who are relying on you, you also have children at school and a whole school system that's relying on you to be there. So you don't want to go out on a bender on a weeknight especially. So what would you do then? Now, see, if you're like me, traveling with children, what I normally do, the first thing I do as soon as we get to a location, I ask the school. If the school is not providing accommodation, I would kindly ask them to please help me find accommodation. Usually some schools will find the accommodation for you because they know that as a foreigner, you don't know anything about the country. But some schools would prefer to give you the stipend, or they would give you a relocation allowance, with which you can then pay whatever you need, the deposit and all those things, and move your things down. Now, in my case, when I came to Spain, I was given a relocation allowance. Gone were the luxuries of being in the Middle East and every other part of the world, which I had enjoyed. In Europeans feel like this is already good enough for you. You don't need accommodation and all those other things. So if you come to Europe, have that at the back of your mind. Now, see, school helped me find accommodation, which was easier. It made things easy for me so that I didn't need to then go through the chaotic way of looking for accommodation in Spain, because sometimes you would go there, and if you look like me, you'll find vacancies online, and then you go to the house and they'll tell you that it's taken. You come back 2 months later, the house is still vacant. It has happened to me. So I was ready for that ahead of time. So I asked the school to please just find a few houses for me, or get in touch with an agent for me and find the accommodation for me. So all I did was just choose what I wanted from I gave them a budget, and they helped me sort that out. Perks of being a teacher, because to be honest, they need you to settle down fast so that you can hit the ground running in the classroom. Now, my accommodation was sorted through the school, so that was good. Another thing that you need to do to transition properly into the schools, into whatever location you're in, is to register your children at local clubs. If the children don't settle, you can't be settled. So register them in local clubs so that they're making friends at school, and they're making friends at outside of school. So that way, it's not just the children at school who are their friends, just sort of like you would have if you lived in your home country. You have school friends, you have maybe church friends or social gathering friends and all those kind of things. So you're providing an alternative for your children by registering them at clubs. And usually those clubs will have the children from the host country. So that'll be fine. Now, those children will become your children's friends. They will be, because it's a sport. So my children will go to gymnastics or football or basketball or handball, whatever sports there is for me to register them in, they will be registered in those sports. Now they will take that and they will start making friends. They'll be making friends at school, they'll be making friends at their sports club. And gradually, I start to make friends with the mothers of these children who are at the clubs. So that's how I start to make friends with the people from the host country, separate from work, because you need to be able to separate work from your social life, or else you get wrapped up in this cycle where it feels like work never ends. Where work starts is where work ends, and you're constantly putting on a show to give that professional front that you need to portray. So, but if you have friends outside of school, I'm not saying you're not going to be civil and considerate, you're still going to be all that, but it's a separate set of friends who will give you a different perspective. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, for me, some of these mothers become my friends and they invite my children over for parties and birthdays, and they invite them over for camping, they invite them over for sleepovers. I'm not really, I'm an African mom. I didn't really do sleepovers that much, but they would invite us for sleepovers or play dates. I would do play dates and we will invite them for play dates as well. Now, because of that, these people would usually show us the local hangouts where tourists don't go, like the restaurants that don't cater to tourists, which will be usually either cheaper and more efficient. And they're not the normal McDonald's and KFC and all those kind of things that tourists go for. This would be like in Spain, we have the callos and the pulpo and all those kind of things, and you learn to eat the local food. And when you learn to eat the local food, you go into the classroom and you sort of understand your children as well. Now, next thing you need to do when you're in a place that, and to help you transition faster, is to start learning the language. Get a tutor or something to come into your house. Now, see, I used to get a tutor who used to come in every Saturday morning. The reason why it's very good for you to learn the language is that, one, you start to understand the locals. You go to the market and you can actually speak the language at the market. Even if you can't speak it properly, they know you're trying. And most of the time when the people from the host country can see that you're trying, they're a little bit more lenient with you. They're very understanding, they're considerate, they help you along because they know this person has bothered to learn the language. So they will do their best to help you along and guide you along. They'll correct your sentences and all that. So that way you get the practice that you need for the language. And you get the admiration of the people. Chances are the next time you go to that market, they will not give you a foreigner's price at the market. They will give you the local price because you started to bond with them. Tell me where you're watching this from. And if you're not watching it from your home country or your home state, please comment down below and tell me how you were able to transition into your new country. There's so many of us who, because of globalization now, there's so many of us who travel. We travel to live in other places. I mean, I hear it's called slow traveling, but yeah, we slow travel. Some of us teach, some of us are doctors, lawyers who have left home to move to a different part of the world. And when we do that, we transition. So please let me know how you have transitioned so that we can all learn from this. When you know the difficulties of learning a language, a new language, without any reinforcement at home, there's nowhere else to practice. You have to be intentional about learning the language, then it makes you more empathetic of the students that you're teaching in the classroom. So that way, when the students are struggling in the classroom, you know how to help them. You know how it feels to learn a language and constantly be treated like a baby, because that's the level of your language at that point. And you start to understand how to be patient with your students in the classroom. The next thing you need to do is you need to learn how to eat the local foods. The cost of living crisis is not just in some countries, it's all over the world. And even before the cost of living crisis started, it's very, very expensive to ship food over from your home country. But if you start to learn to eat the local food, then you find out that you spend less on food. For instance, I like to eat something called moi moi, which we have in Nigeria. It's a very delicious food. Moi moi and akara are my go-to. It's what you feed babies, so maybe I'm a baby. But the thing is, when I left my home country to come and work abroad, I realized that I didn't have access to all this kind of foods that I was used to. So I started to experiment with the local foods, which were cheaper, and that meant more savings for me and my children to travel. What better way to do that? I mean, the first time I saw uh, um, ewedu in Egypt, I nearly kissed the ground. They don't call it ewedu in Egypt; they call it molocheia. And when I saw it, I thought, "Thank you, thank you." And I looked like an idiot, but it was fantastic. So here in Spain, I make moi moi with lentejas. I make akara with lentejas, and it's perfect. I've given it to my mom, who's really, really critical. My mom's the only one who could tell the difference, but everybody else I've given it to. Uh, yes, and they didn't know that I had used lentejas, which is, I'm calling it lentejas because that's what they call it in Spain. But lentejas is just basically lentils. I will be showing you how I make my lentejas, my moi moi with lentejas, in another episode, and that will be the part that covers the food. Another thing you need to learn when you go into a new country is that you need to explore the country. Let the people who you've made friends with, let them take you around the country. Let them tell you about places. In Egypt, my co-teacher was brilliant at suggesting different places. She was newly married, so for herself and her husband, they were constantly traveling. No children at the time. They wanted to have an extended honeymoon, so they were always traveling. And she would always come back and tell me, Janet, I found a new place. Oh, don't go to Sham. Tourists go to Sham. She would name somewhere else. And oh my God, I got to see so much more of that country because of her. Even when I came to Spain, I had a TA called Rosalia. Rosalia is fantastic. In every country that I've gone to, I've had friends who are from the host country like this. I mean, there will be teachers who will be teaching with me at the school, but I always made sure I went out of my way to make friends with the locals because they are a treasure. They are the greatest resource you can have when you're transitioning in any country. Every time I am in one country, I would go to all the neighboring countries. And if there are restrictions, of course I will mind the restrictions, but then I'll go to all the others that I can go to. For example, I'm in Spain at the moment. Because I'm in Spain and I travel on my Nigerian passport, I have access to all the countries in Europe. I also have access to countries that will accept my passport without needing an extra visa. Like, also, I try to explore and understand the culture, because understanding the culture goes a long way in understanding the people. It helps with the nuances. It helps you not make mistakes, because one thing you say in your country might mean something else in this new country. And you need to be sensitive to the culture so that your stay can be you can have a much better experience in that country. The next topic is home. And this makes me think of E.T. Phone Home. There's a reason why E.T. Phone Home in that movie. You can tell that I've aged myself now. I've given you a rough estimate of how old I am. But yes, there's a reason why E.T. phoned home. He was homesick. And it happens to the best of us who have the adventurous spirit and we decide to move away from the herd and explore the world. You will miss home. And it's always nice before you start to miss home and fall into the expat blues to make sure you put a time down, schedule a time for calling home. Now, you might be in a place where the time difference does not permit you to call them unless you actually make the conscious effort to say, every Sunday, I'm going to call my mom. Or every Sunday, I'm going to call my siblings. So everyone understands we don't make plans on that day, it's family day, or it could be a school. Just put a time, consciously make time to phone home because that will help you a lot. You will miss them, but you always have that to look forward to, and it will make you enjoy where you are even better. Because if you do not do that, you start to long for them, you start to miss them, you start to feel like it's a waste of time for you to have come here. You will not enjoy the experience there. And usually, when you go back home, you find out that you don't really feel like you belong there either. So, call home, make sure you keep in touch, and it'll help you a lot more than you think. Apart from engaging with community and calling home, it's always nice to also connect with other expats in that area. Facebook is good for that. There are lots of Facebook groups. There are lots of Facebook groups out there. When I was in Egypt, I actually joined a group of friends and we set up this Black expats in Egypt group, and it's still thriving till today, and I'm still a member. Guys, don't kick me off because I've fessed up here. I mean, it's for people in Egypt, but I'm still on there and I see what they do and I say hi once in a while, so that when I go back to Egypt, I hang out with them. We have dinners and it's always nice, Remember, I said I've built a family around the world, and those are one of the people that I make sure I phone when I've got the blues, the expat blues. Another thing that you can do that will help your transition and help you adapt to your new country faster is you explore every single chance of professional development that's offered to you. Even if it's not offered to you, you can go online and type in professional development courses and you can just put in the niche that you're in, the particular year group that you teach, or the place, the area in which your subject is specialized in, and you will find there's a range of professional development courses. In fact, your school is the first place to go. Go on to your staff login, go into your staff area on your school's website, because most schools will have that. By embracing the local culture, building a strong support system, and continuously developing your personal and professional skill, you can thrive in your new teaching role, enrich the lives of your students, and grow personally and professionally. Thank you very much for being with me till this point in the video. I hope to see you in the next episode. Bye.